Temple of the Dog, Temple of the Dog. Against the Lioness by Songs Ohia. My phone's pretty excited about this matchup. What about you? What's my pour? This is an exceptional matchup. Two phenomenal albums. And I'm going to talk with you about them having one of my favorite pours ever. I personally did this barrel pick. Temple of the Dog. You ever wondered what it would sound like if members of Pearl Jam and Soundgarden made an album before Pearl Jam existed and when Soundgarden recently just existed? Well, so if you haven't heard of Temple of the Dog, that's what you got here. Couple of band members from Mother Love Bone, after their lead singer passed, they formed Temple of the Dog, and Chris Cornell of Soundgarden, as well as Matt Cameron, who would be in Soundgarden as well as now is in Pearl Jam, were in the band along with another guy that's now in Pearl Jam. I'm not an in-depth historian of Pearl Jam history and minutia, but anyway, that's what you have here. I don't know if they were in mourning for their lead singer and this was a one-off that they never intended on being a full band, or if Chris was tied down contractually to Soundgarden, or if just Eddie Vedder really wowed them enough to create Pearl Jam. But anyway, we're not talking about Pearl Jam. We're not talking about Soundgarden. We're talking about Temple of the Dog. It's a very, very good album. It's an interesting album. You can hear elements of Pearl Jam and Soundgarden in it, and also elements of Mother Love Bone. Times of Trouble reminds me of Mother Love Bone more than any other song on this album, to the point where I looked up to see if that was a cover or like a lost track. Mother Love Bone. Four Walled World reminds me the most of Soundgarden, and I really, really love how that song ends. It reminds me of doom metal, which is not unusual for Chris Cornell's early days, because I think there was a heavy Sabbath influence on early Soundgarden. That song really, really stands out on this album. Those two songs do. Of course, Hunger Strike is what most people are familiar with from that album, because Eddie Vedder sings on it before he was ever in Pearl Jam, along with Chris Cornell, and it's a transcendent track, no doubt. I know Eddie Vedder can be polarizing, but I think he's phenomenal, and Chris Cornell's phenomenal, and the musicians are also phenomenal. It's interesting to ponder what would have been if this band would have continued on and we wouldn't have had Bad Motorfinger, 10 and Verses and whatnot. It wouldn't have had Down on the Upside World. I mean, it would be kind of fascinating, if choose your own adventure kind of thing. One thing that I can say is that listening to these albums on shuffle the past few days while doing other matchups, they're not good yin and yangs with one another. They're so radically different, these two albums. I was disjointed listening on shuffle, and neither album sounded particularly well. Neither album sounded good when I was in the 130-degree sauna. Both albums sound phenomenal when listened straight through. Bald Bourbonaire is who submitted Temple of the Dog, and I didn't remember that. I had to go back and look at the original video to see who submitted it. And I submitted Songs Ohia, the Lioness. Never owned the album, but there are times where I listen to Songs Ohia songs, and I will listen to the same song on repeat for hours. Same song over and over and over, and I get in a trance, and I'll write poems. I've done that, I know, with Didn't It Rain off of Protection Spells, and I've done it with the song Lioness, title track on this album. There's something about the Songs Ohia tracks that really activates my personal muse. They're very meditative, almost like incantations or trances. So over the past few days, I thought, well, maybe that's a transcendent song, but the rest of the album's not all that good. This morning on the way to work, very, very dense fog, raining and drizzling. It was dark, and was listening to the songs Ohia, the Lioness, and I was like, oh my gosh, if there's any music made for this weather in this moment, it's the Lioness, the album, not just that song. And I got to work, and Back on Top was playing in my car right as I got to work, and it just sounded so good I wanted to keep listening to it. So for the first half of my shift at work, Back on Top, over and over and over and over. Never sounded bad, never lost momentum. It's kind of like just, a 4-hour long song, just wonderful. Just this kind of music might make some people down, but it energizes me and focuses me with my ADHD. Sometimes, meditative songs can really help me kind of block out some of the distractions in my world and help me hone in on something else. I'm not just honing in on the song becomes part of my brain. And that might sound a little too Rick Rubin-esque for most people, but it is what it is. And then when I was driving home, I was trying to listen to these albums on shuffle. Those Temple of the Dog songs sounded really small, coming up after songs Ohia while driving in the rain, heavier rain on the way home. And then the Black Crow came on, and I just had to listen to it on shuffle, or on repeat. I was like, this is a metal song. I mean, that's one thing about songs Ohia. My buddy Alex Plastic Disc, who has a preposterously phenomenal vinyl record collection. I think he called songs Ohia Gothic Country. I think that's what he called it in a comment on a post I made today. And when I was driving to work this morning, I was like, what genre is songs Ohia? I have no idea. I kind of like bands that defy genres, kind of write their own. I mean, people would probably call them singer-songwriter, which I think is an obnoxious genre. But I don't know what it is. I know that Jason Molina had, a metal background before getting into songs Ohia and Magnolia Electric Company, but I don't know what kind of metal. I think he's up in Cleveland or Akron or Toledo, someplace up in Rust Belt, Ohio. But this song, The Black Crow, is a metal song to me. It may not be metal instrumentation and all that, but it is the spirit of metal. It's so heavy. And DeWall, one of the darlings of the round of 360 and the 360 albums Tourney, I would love to hear DeWall cover The Black Crow by Songs Ohia. It has nothing to do with the band The Black Crows, but it is a dense, heavy song. I mean, emo, I think, is repulsive for the most part. But, like the Hot Topic emo, with all the hairspray and stuff. And if you like it, you like it. That's your gig. But this, to me, Songs Ohia is emo. If there was emotional music, yes, Songs Ohia is emotional music. So you know where this is going. Even though with all the star power and the nostalgia of Temple of the Dog, I have to advance Songs Ohia, the Lioness, to the round of 180. Have you heard of Songs Ohia? Have you heard of Temple of the Dog? You like either? You like both? Let me know. And if you haven't heard of either of these, dial them up, because Temple of the Dog's excellent, but Songs Ohia, it's a spiritual album. Spiritual. Pull a song up, put it on repeat, and you'll have a spiritual experience too. Maybe have you some fine bourbon while doing it.